And welcome to Technology Tap. I'm Professor JRod. What happened to Professor JRod? We'll get into that in a minute. Let's get to it. Hey, and welcome back to Technology Tap. Where you guys been? No, just a joke. It's where have I been? Well, a lot has happened since, we last talked. And the biggest thing that happened is that Professor JRod is now Dr. JRod. You've heard that right. During this whole time, some of you may or may not have known, I've been working on my doctorate. And I graduated. May 15th. And, I was busy finishing up the dissertation. And then I presented. And then I had to do revisions. It was an extremely, extremely stressful time in my life. This is one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life. There was a point in this journey that I almost quit. And it's funny because I always tell my students, quitting is the easiest thing in the world to do, right? Quitting is easy, right? You just stop doing what is it that you're working on. Putting in the work, trying to finish is the hard part. And I wanted to give up. I really did. Doing a PhD is not easy. It takes a lot of your life. It takes a lot of your time away. And I'm already doing a lot. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you can see all the stuff that I do. And, just to, burden myself with this thing, I wasn't, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want, I was just so stressed out. But here I am. I finished. I'm Dr. Rodriguez. So, that's what's been happening. I was busy with that. Busy with work and stuff. So, it something had to give, right? I had to, at one point I had to decide what is it that you want to do. Do you want to finish the podcast? Do you want to, I was doing TikTok for a little bit. And, I stopped doing that because I just had to focus my whole time on my dissertation. And let me tell you, it was tough. And the funny thing is, ironically, I did it on podcasting. My dissertation is titled "Using Podcasting as a Tool in Higher Education." That's my dissertation. That's my thesis that I did it on. This whole thing has been because of this. Doing this podcast. Has inspired me. I wrote a whole 150-page dissertation on, can we use podcasting as a tool in higher education? And I found out that we can. And, during the way I met a lot of people during the interview, I had to interview people and do surveys. And I've learned a lot from other people who are using podcasting as a tool. And this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to learn more. And I was fortunate enough to interview a couple of people, fabulous people, who gave up their time, a Saturday or a Sunday or one time at night and let me interview them for this, for my dissertation, which, of course, that I'm going to pay it forward. But, I learned a lot and hopefully I can, hopefully one day become a subject matter expert on podcasting and, how do we do it? How do we use it for school? So my next plan is to do, try to take the dissertation and kind of cut it up into different journal articles, that's my next goal. And, just be, I want to be on CNN when they talk about podcasting and education. I want to be on CNN. I want to be the person that they're interviewing, right? Fox News and MSNBC. I want to be on the news when they talk about that. Oh, let's talk to Professor Rodriguez. He's a subject matter expert on podcasting. That's my long-term goal with this. I still want to continue doing research. I still have my other research where I do cultural relevant teaching. And I'm actually going to Kansas City in late July, early August to present at a conference, at the High Tech Conference. Trying to spread my wings, guys. Just trying to get involved in more and more. Trying to help my community, trying to help those who, are afraid to go to college or don't know how to navigate the system for colleges. I grew up poor in Brooklyn, and, now I would have never dreamed I would have a PhD hanging on my wall. I mean, never would have thought of that. I'm so blessed. Of course, my family has a lot to do with it. But my students, you guys, the guys who listen to me, I could not have done it without you guys, pushing me. I had one student, I remember he told me, at the graduation, because not only did I have my own graduation, I had students' graduation, and since I work at different schools, I had kind of several, so that's another reason why I kind of had to put this on pause. One student told me, he goes, "Oh, professor, I was going to quit." he goes, "I was going to quit school. And you gave a speech one day, I like to do a lot of rah, 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 right? One of the students called it preaching, that I like to preach. And he said, you said that quitting is the easiest thing to do, right? Quitting is easy. Trying to work through it is the tough part. And he told me, you said that, and I said to myself, I'm not gonna quit. I'm gonna stay. And listen, I'm not that young, right? I'm a little older, but I got my PhD at this age, which I'm not telling you. And it's a hell of a accomplishment. Let's see where it goes, right? Let's see where this goes. Hopefully, it would open up a lot of doors for me, and in turn, open up a lot of doors for me to help people, because that's, at the end of the day, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing, that's why I do the podcasting. That's why I do a lot of stuff. I want to be able to, help people and help my students and anybody who is listening. So now my question is, do I change it to Dr. JRod, or should I leave it Professor JRod? Honestly, I'm more inclined to leave it as Professor JRod, because I kind of like it. It kind of flows very well as opposed to Dr. JRod, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I like the Professor JRod persona that I've have within the last couple of years. So listen, you tell me, right? Should I keep it? Should I change it? Email me, ProfessorJRod, right? That's JRod, right? ProfessorJRod@gmail.com. And let me know, should I change it to Dr. JRod, or should I leave Professor JRod? Kind of like Professor JRod. You guys will still know me as Professor JRod, I guess. Now I got to do a lot of work to bring, you guys back. The ones that are still listening. I see a lot of people still hitting my website for the questions that I have. I'm going to get back to that. This summer, I usually I don't really do a lot of podcasting during the summer, but one of the people who I interviewed gave me an idea that he has his students, as their final, convert their project into a podcast, and that's their final. So I decided to do that, and I got a lot of students who did a lot of excellent work on cases. We did case studies of companies that got hacked. So I'm thinking doing a kind of like a summer series right? And I'll post my students' episodes that they created, right? Their audio file. I'll clean it up and the best I can, and add the intro and the end to it. But I want to see how that works. See if you guys will be interested in hearing about companies that have been hacked, right? So I'm going to start doing it, this in June, and this month. I got a couple of episodes already that from students that I want to play. You tell me if you like it or not, right? If you don't like it, then next summer we don't do it. We'll do something else. But I also want to get back to what I regularly do, right? There's a lot of things that's been happening since I've been gone. CompTIA has changed. Again, the Security Plus is the 601. It's almost done, right? So those of you who study, I think you got until the end of July to figure out what you're going to do. If you're going to take the 601 or the 701, you still have a shot. Take the 601. But don't procrastinate. This is it. It's almost over. And then we have Network Plus. They announced that they have a new version of Network Plus, right? So I got to do a little research on that. We'll do an episode on that. They changed ITF. Those of you who don't know what ITF Plus is, that's the CompTIA fundamentals. They revamped it. It's now called Tech Plus, which I think is a better name. Tech Plus, right? Kind of like help desk. And I'll do an episode on that. I took down some notes and I have some stuff that I, some opinions on Tech Plus. I think it's better. It flows better. They have some newer ones that it's been a while since they came out, like Data Plus and Data Sys Plus. Don't know anything about that. I don't know if I'm interested in that. I don't know if you guys are interested in that. You let me know if you are. We can talk about it. I just want to get back to our core, taking a topic and exploring it, and then doing the questions, right? And then on TikTok, I'll get back on TikTok. I was at ProfessorJRod on TikTok, and I was going in there and doing rapid fire 3 questions a day. I think I was doing. And that was working out well, but I needed to get 1,000 to go live, and it's really hard to get 1,000 people to follow you. You gotta get 1,000 followers. Some people get 1,000 followers, they trip down, they slip on ice, they get 1,000 followers. I'm working my, doing these questions and answers, and it's hard for me to get, 1,000 users. So once I get 1,000 followers, because the whole thing is that I can go live, right? And if you're having a particular problem with a particular topic, maybe I can go over it during the live, right? You tell me, oh, I'm having the problem understanding subnetting, right? Then we could do a whole thing on subnetting. Or I'm having a problem, talking about risk, and then, we can go over it, and I can give you examples and stuff, and, and help you. Again, that's my whole goal. But I need 1,000 followers, guys. So if you on TikTok, look me up, ProfessorJRod, and start following me. And I need to tighten up, my stuff. I've been but I've been all over the place. But I have a valid excuse, right? I got my PhD, so But now that journey's over. I want to be able to get back to this and again, grow this community like I've always told you guys. I want to grow it, make it better. I kind of see if I can get my, you guys involved, my students involved more. This is my passion project, right? This is something that, that I really want to do. I'm not making any money off of it. I'm actually, spending money, doing all this, paying for this stuff, so it's fine. I don't mind, but I just, if you can get, follow me on TikTok, get your, your friends, your family, just to, you don't have to watch my videos, but just follow me, right? And then, we'll see where we can go from there. So we'll do that. So what I'll do is I'll do the ITF podcast, and then I'll throw in a student podcast, and then maybe I'll do Network Plus, and then maybe I'll do questions, and then I'll throw another student podcast in there. right? So for the summer, and then when we come back in the fall, we'll start with the answers. It's tough getting people to take exams during the summer, but it could be done. This week it's been a really good week for me professionally. I got 5 students to pass the Security Plus exam this week. The key thing that I believe in the CompTIA stuff that would help you, and this has been proven by many people who have worked with me on these CompTIAs, is you have to have a study group. You have to have somebody who's pushing you and kind of holding you accountable for the stuff that you don't do or procrastinating it. So these people they work together. And they studied, and they all passed. 5, well, 4. One girl she did it on her own because she already had taken the course and she had all the material. And a lot of the time, one of the big reasons why they did it is because I was able to get them certifications, and those certifications were expiring. They had to take it by Friday. If not, it was going to expire. So they took it. I think we need more of that. We need more of, hey, I'm going to push you to take it because if not, it's not going to work, right? We need sometimes to push people because they always say like, oh, I'm not 100% ready. So sometimes you don't need to be 100%, right? A+, you only need to be 72% ready, right? If you 75% ready. If you're 75% ready, then you take the exam. You're probably going to pass. You don't need to be 100% ready because guess what, guys? You might never get there. You might never feel like you're 100% ready. That's the sad part, right? The other thing, and we talked about this, is the big barrier is the money for it. I think what happens is people are afraid to take the exam because if they fail, right, they got to pay for another exam, and people don't have, people struggle. Struggle is real. I have these amazing students, that they were studying together, and they were amazing. And I kept telling them, hey, you ladies are ready. They were ladies, and I was telling them, ladies, you ready? Take the exam. Don't wait. And they, to this day, I don't, and this is in December when I last spoke to them, I don't think any of them have taken the class. I just feel that it's the money for the exam is a barrier for a lot of people. So that is something that I need to figure out. What am I going to do? Because that's what's holding a lot of people back, is the ability to pay for the certifications, because they worry that, hey, if I pay for this and I failed, I got to pay for it again. So not that we should be giving out, vouchers, right? But if you're ready, and if you prove to me that you're ready, why can't I give you a voucher? So, I'm just a little man sitting here in my living room doing this thing, but hopefully somebody out there hears me, and somebody who has a foundation or something and wants to, donate some money we can get all these students, who want to get certified but cannot afford it, because that's a shame. That's a shame. Well, anyway, so so I'm back, and we're gonna get this right. We're gonna get this back on track, and hopefully, a little bit more consistent. All right, that's gonna put a bow on this one. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And remember, keep listening because I got a lot of stuff coming up. All right, guys? Until next time. This has been a Little Chacha Productions, art by Sarah, music by Joe Kim. If you want to get in contact with me, you can email me at ProfessorJRod, that's JRod, @gmail.com.